Всем привет! В эфире Нарраторика. Меня зовут Мария Кочукова, я основатель Нарраторики, школы сценаристов компьютерных игр и нарративных дизайнеров и студии Royal Troop. Сегодня у нас в гостях два замечательных человека, тоже сценаристы, как ни странно. Это Шарлин и Патни. Шарлин.
Алло, привет.
И Евгений Пузанков, который уже был у нас. Вот, появились первые зрители, и для наших первых зрителей у меня для вас большая новость. Сегодняшний вебинар будет первым в истории нарраторики вебинаром на английском языке. Поэтому готовьте Google Translate. Я верю, что мы вытянем. И я даже передаю слово Жене. Жень, давай, веди. В общем, поехали, погнали.
Okay, I'm taking it away. So, Charlene, hello. Thank you very much for joining us.
My friend, how are you?
I'm doing great. We're all doing great here. It's a fabulous day everywhere, I'm assuming. So, let's introduce you to our fabulous non-Russian, Ukrainian, and CIS and general audience. Tell us a bit, how did you break out in the industry?
I used to work in Google and Facebook, and I left to write a fantasy book a long time ago, 5 years ago. And I started writing small games. I got really into Twine and making little branching narratives myself. And then I built up a big portfolio of work doing that, worked for some smaller games companies. And then one day I saw a tweet from our boss, Sven Winska from Larian. And he said he wanted to talk to people who could write non-linear narrative beats. And I said, I can do that. He said, okay, we'll see. Send me a portfolio. So I did, and that's it. I joined.
And now you have worked on. You've joined on Original Sin 2, Divinity Original Sin 2.
I joined on the enhanced edition of Original Sin 1, and wrote all the kind of item tooltips and combat arcs for that, and then was there from the very start of Original Sin 2.
And as far as I know, you're all writing characters, writers in Dublin at least. And yours was If I'm the Mist.
Yes, that's my man. Yeah. So yeah, we write a core story, characters, dialogues, and sometimes some marketing content, depending on the day that's in it.
Yeah, we'll talk more deeply about If I'm the Mist and your work on Divinity a bit later, and on the course, which we will shamelessly plug in the end of the conversation. So let's talk more about your journey. So yeah, let's start from the beginning and just start to unravel all those painful memories from the past.
Also painful, Evgeny. Don't go there.
This is our job. The writers to open that can of spiders in fabulous high heels and make them run through the catwalk. So what did you do at Google and Facebook? Because we have no idea what people do at Google and Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, me either, really. But in Google, I worked there like 10 years ago. I left, I think, almost now. But I was a team lead for it was called Creative Writing Team, and we wrote newsletters for AdWords and AdSense customers. And I made all of the PowerPoint presentations for the senior executives to give and things like that. Once I made one that Larry Page used, so that was pretty cool. And then I left. And then in Facebook, I was in charge of kind of right to left languages. So, you know, Hebrew, Arabic, anything that goes from right to left rather than left to right, because that's what I did in university. I have a master's in right to left languages, basically.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How many languages do you speak?
Speak, not that many, but I can read Hebrew, Aramaic, Syriac, Greek, English, Irish, a bit of French, a bit of Russian, a bit of Spanish. That's it.
That is fabulous. I'm so jealous. Jealousy aside, yeah.
But you can actually speak 2 languages properly, so, you know.
Well, you do, English and Irish.
Oh, yeah, I guess. But nobody else speaks that one, so, you know. It's not that useful.
Well, again, no comments from my side, I suppose. Yes. So the Twine games that you've been making, like, why were they? Let's start like from the horrible questions. Like, why were you doing those?
Well, I kind of was like really in the Irish game development scene from the very early days, and I used to actually teach project management on the game design degree course that we have here in Dublin. And basically, I just went to a game jam one time, and I was like, I'm going to go to a game jam. I'm going to make a game, but I don't like working in teams. Don't tell anybody. I do like working in teams now, but at the time, I didn't have enough confidence. You know, I was quite insecure about being able to make anything at all. So I wanted to make something that I could do completely by myself, and I wouldn't need anybody's help to finish it. So I learned about Twine, and basically just went to the game jam, started learning Twine, and 48 hours later, I had like a full-on game published on the internet with like 100 people had played it, and I had like all kinds of like, you know, inventories that I'd coded. I'd stayed up all night coding like an inventory system for collecting things in the game. I had pictures, I had fonts, I had colors, and I was just so happy with what I'd made. And I just thought, this is amazing. Like, I have been sitting at home for years writing poems and stories and blog posts and not getting anything like this amount of an audience, like nowhere near this many people engaging with what I'm making. So maybe if I'm making games, I can get more people to, you know, read my work. And it would appear that that is true, considering how many people have played Original Sin 2.
Can we find somewhere that Game Jam game?
Yeah, I probably can find it for you. And it probably, all the links are probably broken, but because it's like 5 years old now, but I'll see if I can find it.
Internet remembers.
Yes, the internet will never let us forget.
Was all the fantasy?
Sorry, Maria?
Fantasy. What setting?
Oh, of my book.
Yeah, of
Or,
book, games and everything. You are writing mostly fantasy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, mostly fantasy. Yeah. So yeah,
Why?
I mean, why?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I've always loved fantasy since I was really young, and I feel like it's one of those ways that you can talk about the real world in a way that is different than just writing about the real world. So you can have like something that's really deeply true set in a fantasy world that somehow feels truer than if it's stuck in a place that people have memories about or nostalgia about, or you know, bad thoughts or feelings or good thoughts or feelings about. But once somebody has kind of grown up and they know something about a place or people, it's hard to make a new story out of that. Whereas with fantasy, you telling them exactly what the world is, you're putting them in the world, and then you're giving them the story. So I think that's why it's better for me.
What's your favorite fantasy setting? Book or film? I don't know. Comic book.
That's a good question. My favorite fantasy book is The Shadow of the Torturer by Gene Wolfe, which is a very weird book written in the 80s about a torturer who's kind of exiled from his guild, and he's going on an adventure across a landscape, and basically it's like this kind of post-apocalyptic, it's like a post-apocalyptic landscape that has kind of changed into an epic fantasy landscape. I don't know, it's really magical. There's every sentence is written so well, and there's so many images in it, and all of the images you can remember forever. So yeah, I recommend that a lot.
Maybe, thank you.
Yeah, but also actually another one that I love is the Strugatsky brothers.
Wow.
They have Hard to Be a God. That book is also one of my favorite. That world is so intense. Yeah.
Yeah, as part of this thing, it's more of a sci-fi, but I think for the last 2 weeks I've been plugging it everywhere that I can in every conversation. There's a fantastic sci-fi series of novels by Sergei Snegov, Humans as Gods.
Okay.
Which I think you will love a lot. It's an optimistic sci-fi by a guy who is basically a Soviet Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay.
And it's incredibly smart. It's rooted in physics. It's rooted in biology, sociology, and the romantic interest in such novels is usually, green-skinned alien babe, to put it mildly. And in this situation, it's the aliens that he meets are, for example, creatures that are communicating using radioactivity. So they kill you when they speak. His actual romantic interest is a person who is a snake, basically, who can only communicate with fleshing of her scales.
Okay.
And all of the novels, they are filled with these fantastic fun parts that are derived from, it is still gaps, there are plenty of jumps into figuring out how it works, but it's rooted, and the guy creates a lot of images and a lot of tension using the actual science. They use non-Euclidean geometry as a narrative device.
Cool. And is it in English?
To grasp. No, you will have to brush up your Russian for that.
So really brush up my Russian to read about radioactive communication. Yeah.
Or German, or Polish, or Hungarian, but it doesn't exist in English, sadly.
Okay. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, hopefully it will happen at some point, and I will plug it enough anywhere.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of good Russian sci-fi, right? Like Vladimir Sorokin as well. I really like him a lot. And there was one I read last year, Mikhail Elizarov, The Librarian. That was a real mindfuck of a book.
Mikhail Elizarov, yeah?
Elizarov, yeah.
I want to read.
Why am I writing it down in Russian, in English? It's force of habit, I guess. Yeah, let's go back with your.
Oh wait, one more thing. One more. One of my actual favorite authors is Victor Pelevin. I love him so much, and he's also great sci-fi. So, Oman Ra is probably my favorite book from last year. He's amazing.
Yeah. We here think that he's not a sci-fi writer, just how
weird.
to say it? Yes, just a weird writer. He's from deep literature, not from our fantastic ghetto, how we call it.
Yeah, but I also know I've heard that he's not, like, the books he's writing lately aren't as good, but because we're about 6 or 7 years behind with translations, to me he's still amazing.
Yeah, he's one of the best, and we learn about him in university, that I think it tells us something about his talent.
Yeah.
Окей, Жень, давайте я чуть-чуть сделаю перерыв и расскажу ребятам, которые пришли нас слышать, вот уже более-менее народ собрался, что здесь, собственно говоря, происходит. Напомню всем, о чем мы сегодня собрались здесь поговорить, такой внезапный переход на русский язык. Смотрите, котики, во-первых, поставьте нам, пожалуйста, плюсики в чате, если вы с нами, вы нас слышите, и можете поставить такое количество плюсиков, насколько вы удивлены тем, что вообще здесь происходит. Дело в том, что Шарлин, который у нас сегодня в гостях, и Женя, который ведет допрос, это ведущие нашего нового курса Game Writing in English. И вы понимаете, мы ведем этот вебинар in English, чтобы подготовить вас немножечко к тому, что вас ждет в течение этого курса. Примерно так это и будет выглядеть. И вот сегодня вы можете немножечко к этому прикоснуться, обновить свои знания английского языка, посмотреть, насколько вам это все удобно, понятно, и как вы вообще понимаете, что здесь происходит. Я все еще жду плюсиков в чат. Я вижу, что вы здесь, ребят. На нашей страничке, пожалуйста, поставьте их, чтобы мы знали, что вы с нами. То меня немножечко тревожит такое молчание в чате. И сейчас, пока мы здесь сегодня в течение этого часа, задавайте вопросы. Вот что вам интересно узнать от человека, который работает в индустрии побольше, чем наша местечковая российская индустрия, работает на проекте, на большом РПГ, крутом проекте Divinity Original Sin. И я все еще жду плюсиков в чате. Шарлин, we have this small, how to say it, ritual for people who are watching us to send us something in our chat.
Okay.
So I ask them to do it because I see how many people are viewing us right now, and they're silent. Why you are silent, guys? Come on, give us some pluses, please.
We're fishing for compliments.
Yep. Okay. I think they're shy, and we are returning to our discussion. So, Zhenya, ask more question.
I'm having a Ghosts of a Future course where basically it'll be completely silent webinar room and we'll just be together talking. But it's pretty cool. Yeah, so the games, the Twine games, we will get to Divinity eventually, a little bit. But the Twine games, so what were they about?
Well, I think almost all of them were about kind of mystical themes of people trying to figure out who they are and what they should be doing in life and what the right path is. And yeah, they're all pretty weird. I was pretty weird when I was writing them. So yeah.
Was?
Still am, but at least now I get paid to be weird. So it's a different situation.
You've successfully weaponized your weirdness.
I have weaponized the weird. It's true.
Yes. Another one for the t-shirts.
What was the last one for the t-shirts? I can't remember.
There was Embrace the Panic.
Yes.
Be One with Panic, sorry.
Be One with the Panic.
Embrace the Cocks.
Embrace the Cocks, yeah.
And I forget the third. There was a third.
So many t-shirts.
There was something.
We have planned for our side store.
Yeah. The loneliest merch shop ever. The weirdest merch shop ever. Yeah, so back to like yeah, let's get to the Divinity.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, what about something we called education about game writing? So you were writing fantasy novels, and how it was it difficult to switch in game mode, in non-linear narrative? How it was for you?
So that wasn't hard for me. The branching narrative wasn't hard. What's hard for me was moving into writing dialogue. Because I even remember when I went for my first interview with my boss, and he read the first chapter of my book, and he was like, "This is 7 pages, and there's no dialogue." And I was like, yes. And yeah, so I really had to learn how to write dialogue, because I can write very descriptive and kind of sensual kind of passages, but dialogue, it took me a while to get into that. So that was the thing that was hard for me. Like a what?
Like Lovecraft.
Yes, I would say yes. Without the craziness, well, some of the craziness, without the racism, let's say.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, like I actually I teach interactive narrative in Dublin, in both on a game design degree course. I've taught there for the last 3 years, and also on a master's course where I teach the same thing basically, but at a master's level. And all of the stuff that I learned, or that I teach, is stuff that I learned through experience. Like I never, when I went to university, I was learning languages. I wasn't learning how to write. I wasn't learning how to write dialogue or anything like that. So I really apply what I know from the work I do into the courses that I teach, which to me, I think makes sense. I will prefer to learn from people who are doing the thing than people who've read a lot about the thing, mostly, Yeah,
but maybe some real good books for that, or not?
Okay, well, my favorite things are basically, I think the first thing is that if you want to be a good game writer, it's far more important to be a good writer first. And so my favorite books that I recommend to all of my students happen to be basically writing books. And those would be Stephen King on writing, a book called The Artist's Way, which is about like uncovering your own creativity. A book called Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. Jeff Vandermeer has written a wonderful book called Wonder Book, which is all about writing science fiction and fantasy, and it's really beautiful. Scott McCloud, Understanding Comics, even though it's not about games, that book will teach you more about, I think, writing for games than any writing for games book I've read. I've never read a book about writing for games that I thought was really good. I'm sorry. I haven't come across that, but I have read a lot of good stuff on the internet, and the best is, and the gateway to all of the good stuff on the internet is the blog of Emily Short. Do you know Emily Short? She's like a really amazing interactive fiction writer, and she's just got a blog, and if you just type Emily Short blog into Google, it will be the first result, and she's got a whole load of resources about writing for games on her blog, and it's just like a rabbit hole. You can just go from there and find so much stuff. So I would say read books about writing and then read Emily Short about games writing, and Scott McCloud. He's great.
Charlene, our audience arise from nowhere, and they ask,
like zombies.
They ask, could you please write down this list for them?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'll write it and send it to you. I'll send it to you, and you can give it to them.
Okay. See you guys.
Those books are not a viable alternative for this course, I must say.
But for everybody.
Books, get the course.
Yeah, Charlene, or Jay, I think I took some initiative from you, because I don't know now what you want to ask Charlene in the course, during the course. So what else, not from the course, we may ask now?
The stuff that we'll talk about in the course, I don't think it will come up in any way in these conversations. The format usually dictates they would not. By all means, like, your questions are great, so please chip in, because I lose track of it all a lot. Plus, we've known each other for quite a while, so like the questions might be weird. Well, I think we bonded on our love for weird stuff.
Yes, exactly.
That was definitely a trick. So you brought up the interview, and like, this is one of the coolest stuff about Larian Studios, and everybody in Russia can experience that. They have a shop in St. Petersburg in a lovely building. It's fantastic by all means, but their application process is peculiar, to say the least. So, Charlene, just to reiterate, who did you have your interview with?
With the boss, our main guy, Sven, the leader of all of us.
Yeah, Sven has this fantastic. I have no idea where did he get, but basically he interviews everybody.
Yeah, it's like the early days of Google when Larry Page hired everybody.
Did Larry Page hire you personally?
Oh, yes. It was a long time ago. It was like 14 years ago.
Oh, legendary. Yes, tell us a bit about, like, I know for sure that they are not under NDA. А? Что происходит? Mash?
Did we lose Maria?
I think we lost Maria, and the problem is that the whole webinar rests on her shoulders and on her tech.
Oh, it still says live.
Yeah, true, but I have no idea whether it's transmitting or not. Whether Masha can even rejoin or something like that. Damn. I think I've closed everything I could close to communicate with her. Crap. This is a disaster.
It's okay. It's just a moment or two. We can always get a new link.
Yeah, true. I'm not sure we. Yeah, it's just a little bit of a hassle. Definitely, just a little bit annoying. I'm gonna ping you. Oh yeah, she fell off. So how have you been?
I'm good. Yeah, we should. Yeah, should we keep going or should we wait and see if she comes back? If she can get back.
I'm a little bit afraid that we'll have to repeat anything when she gets back. I pinged her on Telegram whether she will like appear, but I don't want I have no idea. I have no way to check whether people are still watching us or not.
Ah, okay. I see what you
Although
mean.
probably I can. Yeah,
well, if you are watching, oh, here she comes. She's back.
Yes, she's back. She's back from the dead.
Are you back, Maria? Hello.
Hello. Are you here?
Yes.
Yeah.